I was born on the 13th. I have been told often that my mother cried for days after I was born. You see, the doctors could not get me out the natural way, so they had to take their pretty knives and cut open her smooth, white belly. Some things are just plain unlucky. Breaking a mirror, walking under a ladder, crossing the path with a black cat. Friday the 13th. For our narrator, being born on the 13th is just one more reason why her life is full of unlucky, tragic moments. One more reason why she will never enjoy the loving embrace of her mother. My Mother's Touch by Lauren D. You've come here to stare at me, to gape and point and go home with the smug comfort that you'll never end up like me. Just as long as the glass is between us. If I ever got as close as to touch you, you might be scared, fluttery, but that's the only thing I ever wanted, for her to take my hand and hold it. But did I get it? No. But I am getting ahead of myself. For years, she used to cry whenever I asked her how I was born. She would say that if she had known they were going to cut her open, she never would have had a child in the first place. When she was younger, my mother was a pretty thing. I've never had that trouble. You see, my mother kept all her pretty genes for herself, hoarding them so that when people looked at us, side by side, they would wonder what accident had caused such a beautiful woman to give birth to such an unsightly creature. I only had to take one look at her tiny, pale fingers and know that mine, they would never be like that. Keep your hands to yourself, was what she told me when I was 5. I had been finger painting, and I reached up to her for a hug, for warmth. And as soon as my yellow and red painted fingers touched her blouse, she screamed and pushed me away. After that, my mother never touched me again. Sometimes I would annoy her, just so that she would pull back her hand and slap me with the smooth flat of her palm. Oh, I still remember the feel of her cool skin against my cheek, stinging a little. But most of the time, my mother kept her hands to herself. She would shudder whenever she had to take my dry, spidery fingers into hers. This continued for years. And then, one day, there was the fire. It started innocently in the kitchen where she was cooking, but fires can be tricky things, and soon the entire room rose in smoke. My mother raced out of the house, clutching her apron for fear that the flames, just like my fingers, might dirty her dress. And it never occurred to her that I might still be up there, sleeping in my room, sleeping as the flames crept under the door and sucked at my skin. A firefighter pulled me up, but too late. Always too late. I'll never forget the feel of the fire licking against my back as I lay there in bed. Like death by 1,000 cuts. Only I survived. I think my mother cried when they pulled me out of the house. I had survived, and she would have to continue to live with this monstrosity. I stayed in the hospital for 2 months while my skin slowly rotted away under the bandages. After the accident, instead of becoming numb, the sensitivity in my fingers increased, and I hungered for a warm palm against mine, a warm body that would hold me and keep me from falling. But to my mother, I was even more hideous, deformed. She wouldn't even come near me. She sat on the other side of the hospital room as if my touch would sear her beautiful skin. When I returned home, she hired a woman to change my bandages for her, just so that she wouldn't have to touch my charred skin. I had been a fool to think that she would care, that she would love me. After so many years, I had finally become that hideous creature my mother saw. I'll bet my deformed image haunted her in her sleep. She had so many nightmares after I came back. My mother was the prettiest thing when asleep. She used to lay out on the couch in her best pearls after she got home from work. And she lay so still. You could have sworn she wasn't breathing at all. But if you got close, really close, you would be able to see her tiny, shallow breaths as her ribcage bumped up and down. That was the only time I could touch her. The only time I could feel her delicate fingerprints against my cheeks. That was the only time I ever felt safe and loved. But one day, as I sat beside her, she woke up and saw me. So she screamed. My own mother screamed because she couldn't bear the thought of my clumsy, blistered fingers against her swan-like throat. And all I could think of was stopping her horrible screaming. So I held her throat, fast in place, pinned her to the couch in her best pearls, until she stopped. And then I could hold her for as long as I wanted. I could feel her cool white hands in mine and not worry about her screaming. Eventually, they took her away in a black bag, and when they buried her into the soft, wet ground, you could see the blue-black silhouette of hands imprinted on her milky white neck. My hands. Then they took me away, to here, a white house, just like my old one, with clean walls and shiny floors. Everything is clean here. Even my clothes are clean, and just like everyone else's. For once, I am the same. Wonderfully, perfectly normal. And twice a day, a woman comes in the room, dressed in white, with her needle, and feeds the sweetest medicine into my arm. And while she does it, she holds my arm steady. And for a moment, oh, just a moment, I am warm and safe. So stare all you want, because I have finally gotten what I have always wanted. To be held, to be touched, to be loved. So yeah, thanks for putting up with me through that. I haven't, whoa, camera angle down. I actually haven't said that one for about 2 months, maybe. Yeah. So, hope you liked it. I did it all from memory, except for the few little bits that I forgot. But it wasn't too bad, hopefully. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.